Shalom and welcome to the Jewish Geography Podcast. I'm your host, Rabbi Eitan Levi, and this week we're going to be exploring the issue of brachot, that's blessings. So we're going to be coming at it from a few different angles, and we're going to start off, as has become the habit of the podcast the last few weeks, with my wife Daniela Levi introducing the question of blessings by reading a letter from her blog. It's called Letters to Joseph. The whole blog is a collection of letters sent to a friend of hers, a Catholic friend in Spain. And pretty soon, we have some exciting news that there's going to be a book version coming out. So if you want to check that out, go to letterstojoseph.com and take a look. There's a post there about the book coming out, what you can do to help, how you can spread the news, and what you can do to get involved. And now here's Daniela.
You may have noticed that in many of my explanations about the way we perform certain commandments, I mention that we say a blessing beforehand that always starts with the same formula. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who... something. Reciting blessings is as regular a part of daily life as prayer. Well, technically it is in itself a form of prayer. Most of the blessings I've mentioned are the kind we recite before performing a mitzvah. But there are other categories too. And in this letter, I will address the different kinds of blessings. But first, what do I mean by blessing? These blessings are short statements that express gratitude for something. So why are they called blessings and not, thankings? And even stranger, why do they all start with the statement, blessed are you? Isn't it we who are blessed by him? The Catholic grace before meals prayers I have seen usually include some form of bless us, O Lord, not the other way around. Well, first things first, what does the word bless mean anyway? In Hebrew, the root that means bless is bet resh kaf, and the sages explain that it means to increase or to bring down divine abundance. When I bless you, I am asking God to increase your wealth, health, happiness, or whatever it may be, to shine his light on you, in essence, to give you more of himself. So what could it possibly mean for me to bless God for creating the apple I'm about to eat? The key to understanding this is to recognize the purpose of these blessings. It is not merely to show gratitude. The purpose of a blessing is awareness. When I hold an apple in my hand and say, "Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who creates the fruit of the tree," what I'm really saying is a lot more than just, "Thanks for making this apple." What I'm saying is, your presence in this world has been made that much greater, has increased, through this fruit you created that I am about to enjoy. I am declaring that whatever it is I am making the blessing for, whether it's a food I'm enjoying, a roll of thunder I've heard, or a mitzvah I am about to perform, is increasing God's presence in the world through my recognition of his role in creating or commanding it. So we're back to what I've always said is the main theme of Judaism, channeling the divine into the mundane and revealing the spiritual through the physical. Through this worldly experience, I experience God, and when I declare that recognition, I make his presence in the world that much more known. Very simply put, in this apple, I see God. There are three main types of blessings. The first is blessings of enjoyment. These are blessings we make over something we enjoy with our senses. The most common ones are, of course, blessings over food. We recite blessings both before and after eating. There are different blessings for different categories of food. Bread. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread out of the ground. There's grain products that are not defined as bread. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who creates different kinds of sustenance. There's wine. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine. There's fruit. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who creates the fruit of the tree. There's vegetables. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who creates the fruit of the ground. And there's everything else. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, from whose word all came into being. If that sounds complicated, wait until I tell you that bananas and pineapples are halachically vegetables, because they are non-perennial plants, or that food can switch categories according to how it is prepared or eaten, for instance, oranges versus orange juice. And don't even get me started on what defines a grain product as bread, or why we say the fruit of the vine for wine, but the fruit of the tree for grapes. The point is that to make the correct blessing, you have to have a basic awareness of how that food came to be on your plate, and making the blessing gives you an opportunity to reflect on this process. The apple came from a tree. which grew from the ground, thanks to sunlight and water and nutrients from the soil, and it's God who made all this happen. After blessings are also divided by category. The long Birkat Hamazon, blessing for sustenance or grace after meals, is for after eating bread or a meal with bread. This is the blessing we made after the meal on Shabbat. There's a shortened version called Me'en Shalosh for grain products that are not bread, or fruits that fall under the category of the 7 species. These are the 7 species referred to in Deuteronomy 8:8, the fruits that the land of Israel is especially celebrated for. These are wheat, barley, grapes, dates, figs, pomegranates, and olives. The last after blessing is Borei Nefashot. It's one of the most disregarded blessings because it's so short, but in my view, it is one of the most beautiful and meaningful. It goes like this: Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who creates numerous souls and their deficiencies, for all that you have created with which to maintain the life of every being. Blessed is he, the life of worlds. The profundity of this blessing lies in its first section, who creates numerous souls and their deficiencies. Why would we be thanking God for creating a deficiency? Because the very reason we are thanking him for giving us something to eat is that he created hunger. If we were not hungry, we would not enjoy the fulfillment of that lack. Take this idea beyond physical sustenance, and you will have a lot to think about. Enjoyment blessings are also made on smelling something pleasant. These ones are very specific too, ranging from pleasant scents from flowers and trees, to the scent of herbs, to the scent of fruit, to the most specific, balsam oil. This too is a moment to pause and reflect on where this pleasant experience comes from, and using it to channel godliness into the world. Another blessing in this category is Shehechianu. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has granted us life, sustained us, and enabled us to reach this occasion. This is the blessing we make over new experiences, such as wearing new clothing, or occasions that are rare enough that we especially enjoy them when they come around, such as holidays or eating the first fruit of a season. Next, blessings for commandments. Jews consider the Torah to be the greatest gift of all, and as I've mentioned, the act of performing a mitzvah is an act of channeling divine energy into the mundane. This is a very appropriate time to declare God's increased presence in the world through this act. Next, blessings of experience. They're called blessings of sight or of hearing, but I would call them blessings of awe. These are the blessings we make when we see or hear something that reminds us of God's presence in the world. For example, when I hear a roll of thunder, I recite, Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, whose strength and might fills the world. When I see a streak of lightning or experience an earthquake or see an especially mighty mountain or river, I recite, Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who performs an act of creation. When I see the Mediterranean Sea for the first time in 30 days, I say, Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who created the great sea. There is a special blessing for seeing a rainbow, which refers to the story of Noah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who remembers the covenant and is faithful in his covenant and keeps his promise. The promise and covenant being, And it shall come to pass, when I bring clouds over the earth, and the rainbow is seen in the cloud, that I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. That's from Genesis 9:14-15. There is another special blessing that we make on flowering fruit trees, only during the month of Nisan, which is around April. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has made nothing lacking in his world, and created within it good creations and good trees, for the sons of Adam to enjoy. Another blessing of note is Birkat HaGomel, a blessing we say when we have been saved from a potentially life-threatening situation, such as surviving a dangerous illness or childbirth. We are required to say this blessing in front of at least 10 people because when God performs a miracle, we have an obligation to spread knowledge of it as much as we can. This concept, Persume Nisa, publicizing the miracle in Aramaic, is familiar from the holiday of Hanukkah. We display our Chanukiot in a prominent window facing the street for this reason. The person who is saved says, Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who bestows kindness upon the culpable, for he has bestowed kindness upon me. Those in attendance answer, Amen. May he who has bestowed kindness upon you always bestow kindness upon you. There are blessings for seeing an especially wise person, for seeing a king, for seeing a group of 60,000 Jews gathered in one place. That has to do with the number of Israelites gathered at Mount Sinai. for seeing a place where a miracle happened for the Jewish people, such as the Red Sea, the walls of Jericho, or the Jordan River crossing, for seeing a place where a miracle happened to that individual or to his parents, for seeing especially beautiful people or creations, or for seeing especially unusual looking people or creations, and for hearing good news, Hatov v'Hametiv, who is good and does good, or bad news, Dayan ha'emet, the true judge. There is even a blessing for going to the bathroom. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who created man with wisdom, and created within him many openings and many cavities. It is exposed and known before your throne of glory that if one of them were to be ruptured, or one of them were to be blocked, it would be impossible to survive and to stand before you for even 1 hour. Blessed are you, Lord, healer of all flesh, who acts wondrously. As we are painfully reminded every time we have a stomach virus, properly functioning personal plumbing is definitely something to be grateful for. Basically, as the rabbi in Fiddler on the Roof says, there truly is a blessing for everything. Or should I say, in everything. Because the whole purpose of making a blessing is to look deep into the world we live in and find God in it. Now, a final word on amen. When one hears someone else recite a blessing, he or she is required to answer, amen. Ever wonder what the word amen means? The root of the word in Hebrew, aleph mem nun, is the same root as the word emunah, faith. Basically, it is a statement that means what you say is true. When you answer amen, it is as if you had made the blessing yourself. You are confirming the declaration of the increase of God's presence and thus increasing awareness of God's presence yourself. And now, of course, a blessing from me to you. May you always find God, even in the most mundane and unlikely places.
Thank you to Daniela for that really amazing piece. I want to zoom in a little bit on one part of what Daniela was talking about. Last week, I took a group on a tour of the old city of Jerusalem, and later I was exchanging emails with Linda, one of the women, I think her name was Linda, one of the women who was on the tour. She's a great photographer, and she took a very nice picture of me, which is the cover art for this episode. For those of you who don't know, my day job is as a tour guide here in Israel. For more on that, check out my website, rabbieitan.com, for more information, reviews, tour ideas, and the like. On the day of the tour, Linda was following along a bit behind the rest of the group, with a contemplative look, taking pictures with a big professional-looking camera. This is pretty common on tours, so I didn't think much of it. But afterwards, we had an email exchange when she was sending me the picture, and she said that she uses photography as a way to have a deep, conscious experience of the world around her. I said that I think of brachot, that is blessings, the same way, and that's part of what first attracted me to observant Judaism, and it also happens to be what inspired me to do this subject this week on the podcast. Taking a picture is a way of freezing time and being able to go back and contemplate that moment more deeply. When you stop to make a blessing, you are stopping yourself in time, allowing a moment to focus your attention and live consciously. I'm not just eating an apple. I'm about to take something from the world, something that God has given me, and make use of it. The shutter opens and light pours onto the film as I say the words thanking the Creator for this gift. The shutter closes and I bite into the apple. The picture remains. The consciousness I created in that moment, the awareness, stays with me as I move through the day. A lot of Orthodox people say blessings in a perfunctory way. No system is perfect. And when you do something a lot, many times a day, every day, sometimes a lot of people tend to sort of blah over it. But blessings do give us an opportunity that we have to seize actively. According to the Talmud, we are supposed to make 100 blessings a day or more. Most of those are done in our regular daily prayers. 19 blessings 3 times a day in our main prayer, the Amidah, and a few blessings before and after the Shema, morning and evening, etc. But then we end up with about 20 or 30 blessings left for us to make. Living with some awareness of blessings doesn't only provide the ability to have these snapshot moments. If one is always looking for opportunities to say a blessing, it transforms the way you view the world even when you're not saying a blessing. You're sort of always on the lookout for opportunities. I think this is similar to the practice many psychologists who practice CBT, that's cognitive behavioral therapy, suggest, of making a list of things you're grateful for every day before you go to bed. Not only do you get the positive reinforcement when you write the list, but throughout the day, you're thinking of things to put on the list later. This helps focus your attention away from the mundane, the infuriating, the difficulties of life, toward the good, the extraordinary, the rewarding aspects of life. Both are true, and choosing to focus on one over the other is not a denial of reality. It's just a choice of where you're putting your focus. May we all be blessed to see and know all the blessings that God gives us every day. Welcome to Happy Hour, where I bring you news that is truly good without resorting to feel-good anecdotes or puppy pictures. You might have seen it. It's all over the news. Israel and Turkey are on track to reestablishing a normal political relationship. Now, I know, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I'm a bit ambivalent about the whole the enemy of my enemy is my friend worldview, but to me, this shows something hopeful. I'll tell you why. In Israel, in the last few years, the political situation simply looks immovable, frozen. There's just nothing we can do. We tried negotiations, we tried unilateralism, and they all blew up in our faces. So Israel's become cautious, even fatalistic. It seems that there's just nothing we, of our own volition, can do to improve the situation. But even if that is true, and I'm not sure it is, but it is the perspective I live in most of the time, the situation around us definitely can change. And as ISIS threatens neighboring Arab states and Iran and its proxies close in on Sunni powers, a sea change in common interests in the region is not only laying bare the real, as opposed to rhetorical, interests of local actors, but also laying bare the lie that Israel is at the core of the region's conflicts. More and more Saudis, Egyptians, Jordanians, and others are realizing that they really have nothing whatsoever to fear from Israel if they just, hold back from trying to kill us. But on the other hand, that we do have some common enemies. Now, I don't pretend to know how this will play out, but as the strongest military force in the region, Israel will be able to defend itself from ISIS, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the like. We're not going to see those guys with trucks from Iraq riding into Tel Aviv. And maybe, just maybe, the dramatic changes in the region will open up possibilities that we can seize to move forward. The repaired relationship with Turkey may be one of the first dominoes to fall in a regional realignment of power that would have been unthinkable just a couple of years ago, maybe even just 6 months ago. Perhaps, while most of us in Israel have become hopeless, as we have feared the need to just hold on to a seemingly untenable situation forever, the ground has been shifting all around us, and as the most powerful and stable country in the Middle East, many of our neighbors are perhaps having second thoughts about how to relate to us in the future. Maybe, just maybe, the change will not come from us, but from our erstwhile enemies. I always like to point out to people that massive, either positive or cataclysmic change is more possible than we tend to think. It's happened before, and it will happen again. Nobody foresaw the rise of Hitler and the post-war rise of social democracy in Western Europe. Few people foresaw the sudden dissolution of the Soviet Union. Few people foresaw the Arab Spring. And though I don't know what the future holds, and though it may be dangerous, in fact, it most certainly will be, it also holds hope. Because I know that whatever will be, it will not simply be more of the same. And from where I sit here in Israel, that is very good news. And that'll do it for this week's episode of the Jewish Geography Podcast. To hear more, to subscribe, and I really hope you will, please go to rabbieitan.com, RABBIEITAN.com, and click on the podcast link at the top of the page. Lots of options for how to subscribe. If you like the show and you want to do something to help, the best thing you can do is go to the iTunes page for the podcast. Just search for Jewish Geography and write a review. Leave 5 stars. Please, please, please. That would be wonderful. Help get us up in the rankings so more people can find the podcast. And if you're interested in Letters to Joseph, the blog or the book, you can go to letterstojoseph.com. And please tune in next week, where we'll be back with more discussions about Judaism and all things Jewy. So we'll see you next week.